All right, guys, we are going to start section 1 of Crash Zone. So you are going to begin by creating a new project in Construct. The name should be your first name, last name, and then just Crash Zone, all one word, something like that. And I'm just going to mark mine here just because I have a lot of different files. 1280 by 720 for the viewport is good, and then you can click Create. Okay. Um, Then what you're going to do is where it says layout 1 here on the right, you're going to rename that. So I'm just going to right click it and we're going to rename it the game layout. Okay. And then we want to make sure that the layout size is also 1280 by 720. So just highlight that game layout, go to the left in the properties up here at the top. We're going to go 1280 by 720. So 1280 comma 720. Okay. So we've got that part in. Okay. We're going to rename the event sheet. So here where it says event sheet 1, we're going to right click and rename it ES game. Okay, so we've got our initial labeling and everything going. So then what I would do at this point is let's get our first like proper save in so that we get it saved into the cloud. So we're going to click menu, project, save as, and we're going to do a cloud save. Make sure that there'll be a little drop down box. Make sure that it says Google Drive, and then it might ask you to choose an email. Make sure you choose your school email. And then that's the little drop down box here. So make sure sometimes this will load up and it'll just be blank. You have to make sure you pick Google Drive for that. And then you can just save it right in there, or if you have a folder you want to save it, but the name should pop up like you labeled it and click save. Okay, from this point forward, then when you reopen your game, you'll just click cloud on that first screen and then you'll just find it right in your Google Drive. Okay, so we're good to go there. Okay, so now what we're going to do, basically the premise of this game is it's a destruction derby game where two cars are going to be colliding with each other. Um, so it's a very simple game, but the coding is quite complex. So you'll see as we get into the damage and all of that, that's where it actually gets a little bit tricky. So we're going to go ahead and start with our first sprite. So I'm just going to double click and I'm going to make a sprite and I'm going to call it car white. So we're going to have two cars. It's going to be car white and car black. White, okay, and just label it like that. Insert, click on the screen. Um, and then what we'll do is we will just start with well, I think the frame is multiple frames. So what we're going to do is down here in the animation frames window, we're going to right click and we're going to import frames. And we're going to do from, I don't remember if it's a strip or if it's files. We'll do from files first and we'll see what we get here. And then go ahead and just navigate to your assets. Your assets would either be in your drive or in your downloads folder. It just depends on how you downloaded them. If you did it with the zip extractor, they'll be in your drive. If you downloaded it traditionally, it'll be in your downloads folder. So I'm going to go to where mine are. And mine are kind of in a different spot here. So let me navigate to that quickly. Intermediate right here. And then I've got my crash zone assets here, images. Okay. Yeah. Oh, it is a sprite strip. So I'm going to cancel out and we're going to do sprite strip. So I'll just load this in inappropriately, but you can see if you do an individual file, but we can see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames. So I'm going to right click, import frames from a strip, and then we're going to grab car white and it's going to be 5 horizontal frames. So for the horizontal frames, we pick 5 and then we just click import and then we should be good to go. Make sure that replace entire animation is checked. If not, you might see some empty frames here. Just make sure you delete those empty frames. What this animation is going to do, it's as we take damage, the car is going to slowly deteriorate. Now, we don't want this to animate. We want these frames to kind of just be still frames. And then as you take more damage, we're going to switch the frame. So the animation speed on the right should be 0. So we just need to make sure that that's set to 0. And then I'm pretty sure there's nothing else we need to do there on the car. So there's our car white on the screen. Okay. We do need to adjust the height and width. So you can see that car is actually kind of big. So let's double click here and we're going to click the resize button up here. Actually, no, the size is actually good. 120 by 60 is perfect. Okay. So that's actually okay. I must have resized it before. Normally we have to resize it here, but we should be good there. Okay. All right. So we've got that. Next thing that we need to do is we're going to add a behavior to this guy. This is going to be a new behavior that, unless you did it for like a final project or something, but this is the first time we're using this behavior in an actual assignment. And it's called the car behavior. So if we just click on it, we're going to go to behaviors and we're going to add a behavior called car. The car behavior is really handy because it's just like it sounds. It's just going to make it act like a car. So if I run the game really quick, basically the default is that the arrow keys will work, and basically up goes forward, down will basically brake, and then go in reverse, and then just arrow keys to turn. And you can see it kind of accelerates and decelerates like a car does. So it's just a really great default behavior if you're doing anything with cars or like for a racing game. Okay, pretty easy there. So we've done that. Okay, and then so basically we're going to do this exact same thing, but we're going to make a car black. Now, rather than, for me as a programmer, right, anytime I can take a shortcut and make things quicker, I'm going to do that. So instead of making a new sprite, I'm going to take this car white and I'm just going to right click it on the right and I'm just going to clone it. And it's going to be called car white 2. And then all I'm going to do is click on car white 2 and I'm going to rename it to car black. Okay, but it's already got the car behavior on it now. I'm going to take this car black and drag it on the screen, and then I'm going to double click it, and I'm just going to replace the sprite from white to black. So now I'm going to right click over here in the animation frames window. I'm going to import frames from a strip, and we're going to go ahead and grab car black, and we're going to do replace entire animation and make sure we pick 5 frames and then import, and then now we've got car black, and then animation speed's already 0 because we did that on the previous car. So now we have our white and our black car ready to go. Now, one thing is if I run it right now, because they both have car behavior, they're both going to move with the arrow keys, which is not what we want to do, right? So on one of the cars, we're going to have to disable the car behavior. So we just got to make sure we choose whichever car makes the most sense for that, okay? So just give me a second here. All right. So now what we're going to do is for the car black that we just made, we're going to go to the properties here on the left, and we are going to turn default controls off for the car behavior. By turning default controls off, and I'm going to go ahead and save, you should save periodically here. By turning the default controls off, now you see the arrow keys only move the white car. The problem is the black car can't move at all now. So that means we're going to have to manually program the black car. Okay. So now what we need to do in order to do that is we're going to have to add the keyboard object into our game. So I'm going to double click and we're going to find the keyboard. Okay. So with the keyboards in our game, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the event sheet. We're going to add some manual events to make the black car move. So what we're going to do is we're going to add an event and we're going to do keyboard, key is down. Okay, and then we're going to select and choose a key, and we're going to do W. So we're going to do WASD controls. So we're going to do W. We're going to click done. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to simulate control, and we're going to accelerate. So I'm going to add an action for car black. We're going to do simulate control, and it should be under the car behavior. And we are going to accelerate. So the up arrow will just simulate accelerate. And then we simply need to do this for A and D for turning, right? So what I could do is I could just copy and paste this. So I could just do Control C, Control V, and paste it twice. Or you can just type them in manually, whatever is easier for you. Some people don't like copying and pasting. So I'm going to change this W to an A. And I'm going to change this from accelerate to steer left. And I'm going to change this one to a D. And then I'm going to have this one steer right. And then I need one more for down. So I'm just going to paste one more. So Control C, Control V. And then we need one for S. And S is going to be my down. So then we're going to simulate brake. Okay, so it should look like this. You should basically have WASD, and then W is accelerating, A is left, D is right, and S is braking. Okay, that's essentially what you want there. Okay, so we did that. Yeah, there just might be some little pauses here because I'm working off the instructions myself to make sure I get this for you guys. Okay, so what you want to do at this point is you probably just want to test it and just make sure it's working. So you can see WASD is working fine. He's moving just like the white car is. And so basically what we're doing is we're simulating a two-player experience um, by having two players use the same keyboard, essentially, is what we're doing. Okay, perfect. So it'll probably be a good time to save there. Okay. Um, we now want to make it so our cars collide. So we're going to go back to our layout here, and we want to give both of our cars solid behavior so that they can actually hit each other. Solid. Good. We'll give this guy solid here. Behaviors and solid. Good, good. Okay, so now they both have solid. They should be able to collide with each other. The other thing is we're going to set up health for our cars, and that's going to be done through an instance variable. So on car black, we need to find instance variables, which is right here. And then we're going to add a variable called health, and we're going to have the default be 500. Okay, and then we're going to add that same variable to the white car. So click on the white car, instance variables, add one, call it health, and we'll do 500 again. Good, good. Okay, got that there. Perfect. Then what we're going to do is we're going to make a couple of text objects that will track the health for each car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out a little bit by pressing Control minus so I can kind of get my entire layout on the screen here. All right, perfect. So we're going to make two text objects, one for the black car's health and one for the white car's health. So we're going to double click and we're going to make a text object. All right, and we're going to call this first one, we'll call it text health black, all one word. Okay, insert, and then click on the screen. And we'll put maybe the black cars in the upper right. I mean, it doesn't really matter which side you put them on. It's just whatever side makes sense to you. Okay, and what I'm going to do is after I put it on there, you can see right now it just says the word text. So that we can identify it, it's good to label it here on the left in the properties. So I'm going to go ahead and write car black health. Um, and this could have spaces in it if you want. Whoops. Okay. And then I might up the size a little bit here. There we go. And then if you want to change the font, you can, but I'm not going to get too cute with it. So now that says car black health. Okay. And I just want to make sure I have it in the right spot. That looks good. Then basically what we're going to do is we're going to make a text object for car white as well. So what I'm going to do once again to make things easy, because I've already resized it and everything, I'm just going to on the right click my text health black. I'm going to right click it and I'm just going to clone it and I'll have a text health black too. I'm going to drag that onto the screen and I'm going to rename it text car white. So txt car white. And then I'm going to change the text down here so that it says car white health and press enter and there. So now I clearly can tell this is my white health and this is my black health and I've got them both separated so I can see what they're doing. Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start to set up some collisions. So we're going to go to our event sheet and we're going to add just a new event for car black. So go to your event sheet, add a new event for car black, and we're going to say on collision with another object. Okay. And then we're going to say on collision with car white. Okay. Done. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a sub event to this before we continue. Okay. This is where it's going to get complicated. There's going to be a lot of pieces to this collision because what we're going to do is we're going to have to like compare the speed of the cars because we want different damage variables or values happening. We don't just want it anytime they touch, they take damage. So in order for the game to be competitive, we want a player like if they hit in a certain spot and if they're going faster, we want them to do more damage because if they always just do the same damage anytime they touch, both cars will just always die at the same time. So we have to make it competitive in some way, right? All right, so we're going to make a sub event. And we're going to do a compare to values. So I'm going to right click on the screen arrow. We're going to do add sub event. We're going to do system compare two values. Okay. And then what we're going to put in for this is we're going to do an expression that is ABS, and ABS stands for absolute value. And then we're going to do a parentheses, and we're going to do car white, not char. We want car white. And then we're going to do dot car dot speed. So basically, we just want to look at car white speed is what we're doing. And the absolute value means basically if it's a negative number, it's going to chop off the negative. So basically, what we're going to do is if car white's speed is greater than or equal to 75, then we're going to start to apply damage. This way, the cars, like if they're just like barely moving and rubbing against each other, we don't want them to like take constant damage. So we're going to put the speed requirement on to say that a car, when it collides, has to be going fast enough to actually do damage to you. And the reason why we're doing absolute value is because if your car is going in reverse, it's basically going to have a negative speed. And so if you're going like negative 75 or more, we still want to apply damage. So when we do the absolute value, basically, if I'm going in reverse at like, let's say I'm going negative 80, it'll chop off that and say that it's 80. And then that 80 would still be greater than or equal to 75. So basically, if your speed, what this is saying is if your speed, whether you're going forward or in reverse, is more than 75, then you're going to take damage or you're going to apply damage. Okay. So this is car black on collision with car white and car white speed. Now, because we're comparing the car white speed and this is saying that the car white is moving faster, then car black is the one that's actually going to be taking the damage. Okay. So we're going to add an action for car black. We're going to do subtract from health, and it's going to be 25. We're going to click done. Okay. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make an every tick to actually show the health and make sure that the health is working. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make a new event, and we're going to do system every tick. Then we're going to add an action for the text health black, and we're going to do set text. Okay, and then the text is just going to say carblack.health. So what we could do, so in the written instructions, they just have you put the number of the health, but I think what we're going to do is this, because I feel like it would be easier. In quotation marks, um, I'm going to write the word car black like this, and then I'm going to do and I'm going to do car black.health. This way, because the way the game normally is, you just see two numbers at the top, but you don't have any indication at which is the white's health and which is the dark health. So by putting the word car black in quotation marks, I think that's going to make it look a little bit nicer, so that we can tell. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to essentially do all of this same stuff, but we're going to reverse it for the opposite collision. So here's what I'm going to do is this event 5 that I have, I'm going to click on this green arrow here, and I'm going to do Control C to copy and then Control V to paste to just copy that whole thing. And I'm going to basically swap the cars out. So here where it says car black, I'm going to right click it and I'm going to do replace object with, and I want to replace car black and I want to replace it with car white. And then this one here, I want to replace this one. So I'm going to double click it and I'm going to say on collision with car black. So basically I just flip flop them. So this first one is car black with white. This is going to be car white on collision with black. And then down here, we just have to make sure that this is absolute value of car black speed. So I'm going to change this white to a black like that. Okay. And then click done. So those have all been fixed. And then here we want to subtract from car white's health, not car black. So I'm going to right click here. Excuse me, something in my throat. Okay, so I'm going to replace object with car white. All right, and then I can add another text object here. So here's what I'm going to do, and this is a common mistake. You see this like little line here. You can move this to read more of the the object name, right? So both of our text health objects are labeled the same to start. So I might move this over so I can at least have an indication of if it's the white or the black health that I'm dealing with. And so I'm just going to click this one and I'm going to copy and paste it. So Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And then I'm going to replace this object here by right clicking. And we're going to replace it with text health black with text car white. Oh, sorry, it should have been text health white. I might rename that. Let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna rename it. That should be text health white, not text car white. There we go. All right. And so you can see here that if this were minimized, they both look like there's the same object. And then people, when something doesn't work, they don't realize it. So if I just move that out a little bit, I can see clearly it's text health black and text health white. And then this one, I'm going to edit this to be car white. So I'm going to change this first part to car white. And then we're going to change this to car white dot health. There we go. All right, so now that should all be set up. So I would save at this point, and then let's go ahead and test it out really quick. So now, because of the way we labeled it, I kind of like this better, where it says car black 500. Like I can clearly tell like which car's health we're looking at. So if I get my speed above 75, if white hits black, yep, black's health went down by 25. And right now we're just doing 25 as a simple number, but this will be edited out later and have like a lot more complicated things to it. But that looks good to me right there. Okay, so we did all of that stuff. Okay, so we're gonna go here. So we did all that. That looks great. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the damage multiplier in. So what we're gonna do is we need to add an instance variable to car black and car white. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back here, click on my car white. We're gonna add another instance variable, and we're gonna call it damage multiplier. Damage multiplier. What did I spell? Okay. Multiplier. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's just because it's one word. It's giving me the error there. Okay. And the initial value, we'll just leave it at 0 for now. And then, so that's on car white. We'll add that same one on car black. So let's add an instance variable and we'll call it damage multiplier. And we'll just leave that at 0 to start. Okay. So make sure you have that instance variable on both. So just damage multiplier. Okay. Um, then what we're going to do is we're going to make an every tick event, or we're going to go to our every tick event and we're going to add an action to that. So let's go back to our event sheet. Let's go down to this every tick. We're going to add an action for car black. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do set value. Okay. And then we're going to set the damage multiplier and we're going to type in kind of a complicated little equation here. So we're going to do absolute value again, and we're going to do parentheses, and we're going to do car black car dot speed. Then we're going to do a parentheses, and then we're going to do divided by 350. Okay. So every tick, the damage multiplier is going to be set to this equation, basically. So it's just going to take whatever your speed is, divide it by 350, and that's going to be the damage multiplier. Okay. And then we will want to do the exact same thing for car white. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste that in. I'm going to replace object here for car white. And when I replace car white, it actually automatically changed the equation for me. So then I think we're good to go there. Okay. We did that. Okay. So we're going to add a new global variable. So now this is where, once again, we're going to get more complicated. We're going to add a global variable for front end damage. So we're going to have like side, rear, and front damage that are all calculated separately. So that's where the game will get a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to add a global variable. We're going to call it front end damage. Okay, and the default value is going to be 25. Okay, so we've got that in there. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the car black on collision with car white, which is right here, this event right here. Okay, and then what we're going to do is instead of subtracting 25 from health, we're going to double click that and we're going to do an equation. So instead of 25, we're going to do front end damage times, and then we're going to do car white dot damage multiplier. So essentially all that's doing is instead of doing a flat 25 damage, it's going to take 25, which is the front end damage, but then it's going to apply the damage multiplier. So if that damage multiplier is increasing, then it's going to do more damage. So basically it's going to make it increase with speed so that we're doing more and more damage based on your speed. Okay. So we've got that on there set to go. And then so essentially we're going to do the exact same thing down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click this and go back in and I'm going to copy this equation. Control C to copy. And then I'm just going to paste that in for the car white here as well. Front end damage. Now the only thing is that we have to change this from car white to car black. It's very important. Like some of the most common mistakes that happen in this game is that the code is all correct, but people have a car white and a car black switched around somewhere. So you really have to pay attention to what you're doing when you're editing these or like when you're copying and pasting. Like some people just go like really fast and they go bam, 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 and then they forget to replace the objects when they copy and paste. So it's really important you're paying attention to all of those little steps there. Okay. So we did that. Okay. And let's see here. And I think that is it for section 1. So go ahead and save. And then we just want to try everything out, make sure it's working. And then basically now when you're colliding, it probably won't be like a nice clean 25. Yeah, you can see I get this really big number here with decimals. That's because now I'm applying that damage multiplier. Later on, we'll fix it so it'll give you a clean number and it'll take the decimals off. But yeah, as long as both your cars are taking damage here, you should be good to go for section 1.